Let's have a conversation.
I want to take this time to thank everybody for their support of myself, Mark, and the music and mental health movement. Please take this time to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. Thank you.
What's happening, everybody? I know I was on here briefly yesterday. I know that I'm usually on here longer. That's probably one of the shortest lives that I've ever done, but it was short because I was in the studio, so I wasn't able to stay on that long, and I wasn't even planning to go live. It's just that I was making my different videos, and I said, hey, let me hop on and check in with everybody because I have not been on here for about a week. I told you guys last week, at the beginning of last week on Monday, that I was going to take the week off, and I did. If you caught my live or you caught the replay of the brief live that I did yesterday, I gave everybody an update. I needed that time to be able to wrap my mind around my life as it has been for the last 3 months, shifting into this next phase of life where I am back to doing my regular work that I was doing before, where I have to get back into that mode of going to meetings and talking to clients and being present there, and figure out how to balance being present there and being present here at the same time. That's how I started. When I was starting to expand on this page, originally, I was working at that time. But as you guys know, a lot of things have gone on for me personally during this time that have taken my focus and changed it a little bit. And some of you I've spoken to personally about how the things that have been going on with my family has shifted the way that I think about life and the things that I'm doing with my life. And as I keep saying, life is too short not to do things in a way that works for you and in a way that makes you happy. Now, to get to the title of what I called this particular thing, I said, be prepared for every season. You can't necessarily be prepared for every type of weather per se. Like, you can't necessarily say, in this season, I'm going to have a hurricane, so I'm going to have my house reinforced and I'm going to have my flashlights or my candles or my extra supplies, extra food. You know, like, sometimes things just happen in a season that you didn't expect and changes the course of the season. But the one constant thing about seasons is that they change. So to me, being prepared for your season, I started to break down my year into seasons, and I kind of like parallel that with the way that our actual seasons are going. Because I know that for myself in general, the seasons that I like the most are the spring and the fall. The fall is my favorite season. The spring is probably my second favorite. The summer is after that, and probably the winter is last, because during the winter I experience some kind of seasonal depression and all that good stuff. But I say to myself, I know that in the spring, and I know that in the fall in particular, I'm going to be very motivated. I'm going to be very hyped. I'm going to be, especially when it comes to doing things that involve fitness, because that's the time when I can do the majority of my exercise outside. I love being outside. I love being in warm weather and being able to do all my exercise on warm weather. I hate gyms and treadmills and having to do things indoors because it's just a different time period for me. So knowing that those are my easier seasons, the things that I focus the most, the seasons I focus the most on are the harder ones, like the winter time. And the winter time over here on the East Coast especially over here, can span from like late October, beginning of November to maybe like March. What is that? November, December, January, February, March. It can span a good 5 months. It can span it could span 40% of your year in the season that you don't like. So instead of trying to spend all that time fighting against the season, I've started to do this thing where acceptance. I just accept that this is not particularly my time of year, but I try to do things that I can do to counter that feeling and to get through those times. As an example, as I have told you guys on a previous live, something that I do during a time like the winter where I'm not just motivated when I jump out of bed to just get up and do things is to put a lot of things on my schedule. Because I know that if I'm in the spring or if I'm in the summer, I can get up, open up my window, look outside, maybe even check the weather outside. And I'm like, oh, it's beautiful. It's like 65, 70 degrees, sun, blue skies. And I'm like, I just need to get outside and do something, go somewhere, travel somewhere. I'm just feeling that way naturally because of what the weather is like outside. Whereas when I get up and it's 20, 30 degrees outside, cloudy, cold rain or snow or whatever is going on, I'm not feeling that way. So in advance of the day, I map out things that I can do with my day. And it's not easy for me to do those things, but I lock them into my schedule and I commit to them. For an example, last week was a terrible gym week because usually you guys see, well, you wouldn't have seen it because I wasn't posting this week, but for accountability purposes, I was not going to the gym last week. And you know that's not me. I go to the gym in any weather, any type of mood that I'm in, any type of anything. That's the one place that you will usually always find me. But last week was so trying that it even took me out of that part of my routine that I usually do. And mentally, I'm feeling the effects. I think of it sometimes in a sense of my weight and what it does for my body. But then when I actually stop doing it, I realized how much I enjoyed it and how much I needed it. So preparing for every season. That's a big one for me, is putting the stuff on the schedule in advance and deciding, like, no matter how I feel when I get up, which could feel really depressed. It could feel like there's a lot of weight on my shoulders. It could just be that it's cold. Like it's cold and it's dark outside. And I don't feel like getting up from out of these blankets. But it's like, this is my get through it season. I even start to name my seasons. When one or two bad things happen to me during a time period, I'm like, it could still be my season. Who knows? Things could turn around. Things could just suddenly get better. I could hit the Powerball or something. But once I start to see it's like 2, 3 things, 4 things, 5 things, then I actually say to myself, this is not my season. This is my get through it season. This is my perseverance season. This is the season when the rain comes all the time. Everybody has seasons like that. I see the cool thing about social media is that I see people talking about those seasons, and I look at those stories and they're motivational for me. As an example, there was one year, which was only 2 years ago at this point, where I was preparing to do one of the biggest fitness competitions of my life. It wasn't my first time doing it. It was my second time doing it. But I wanted to be in much better shape than when I did it the first time. And I remember I started running to prepare myself for the cardio. And then I got this hamstring strain, this nagging hamstring strain. And I don't know if you guys have ever experienced like a hamstring injury. That was my first time having one. It was really nagging. And it was the type of thing where I would stretch it and I would rest and I would try my best to get it better. And then I would go out and try to run again. And boom, the hamstring is having a problem. That was my right hamstring. Hi, Janet. That was my right hamstring. And then I had a freak accident a little bit after that hamstring got better, where I was walking behind an elliptical and it banged out my kneecap. So my knee was done. So now I was rehabbing my hamstring on my right side and my knee on my left side. And as those things were starting to get better, there goes this nagging shoulder injury, which is much better now. It's not 100%, but I was in physical therapy at one point for 3 different things at the same time. So when the third thing came, I said, this is not my season. Instead of being like, oh, things are going to turn around tomorrow. This is going to get, I had to say to myself, this is a time where I have to grind through mentally because I have multiple injuries while I'm trying to train for this race. My whole body is injured at the same time. It's like head to toe, my body is injured. Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to catch a live as well. I think taking a week off messes you up in the algorithms, but that's okay. You know, things are going to pick back up. I'm sure that there's a bunch of people who have not been notified of this live yet, and they're going to catch it afterwards and throw in the comments that they didn't see it, but it's going to go back up. And one of these days, I'm going to figure out how the YouTube algorithms work so that people can get these notifications. But for now, shout out to the replay crew for whenever you see this. So yeah, I had to say to myself, I'm just not really happy during this current season because there's so many things going on. And in addition to those injuries, you know, my dad's illness popped up. It didn't pop up, but it got worse in the midst of all of this stuff happening. So there was just a lot of things swirling around me at once. I started to use the power of positivity and visualization. I said, this is not my season now because of these different things that are happening in my life. But if I ride out the storm, if I just maintain on the boat, eventually in the future, I can see the best time of my life approaching. I just have to get there. I said that in like a YouTube post months earlier, last year sometime, and somebody told me, what's the point of what I was saying? I was saying in my other post, you don't have to be happy. You just have to get up and kind of make it through and push through, and you're going to get to that place. What that means is, I feel like happiness is a feeling. This is just my personal opinion on it. Like, happiness is a feeling. And you can't just say, oh, here's all these reasons on paper that I should be happy, so I'm happy. You do choose overall whether you are going to be a happy or positive person or not, but you can't force happiness in the moment. And sometimes things happen to us in those moments that nobody would be happy about. You're allowed to have whatever emotion that you have in that moment. Anger, sadness, hurt, pain, whatever it is. You're allowed to feel whatever it is because we are people of emotions and feelings. You're allowed to have those emotions. But don't sit in that time period and wallow, because then that season could become every season for you. And I'm somebody who that has happened to before. So I'm very careful to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So when I experience disappointment, pain, sadness, hurt, whatever, I make sure that I experience what I'm going to feel at that moment, but I don't live in that moment, because then that moment is going to become me. And I don't want those moments to become me. You're wise beyond your years. Thank you, Janet. I don't want those moments to become like immersed in me. I want to be able to specifically just be like, this is just what's happening right now. I'm going to feel whatever I feel about it right now, and then I'm going to let it go, because it's not going to define me. I'm not going to let that downtime or that down season define me. And I've been down. I'm a person who's been in the basement. You know, I've been lower than low before. What's happening, Van Hoot? I've been lower than low before. I've been at the bottom of the bottom. And at those previous times, I was at the bottom of the bottom and I couldn't see a way out. That's where, thankfully, I was willing to go seek help and speak to a therapist and kind of have them be that boost that I needed to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But I'm thankful that now I'm able to do that for myself. And if I see myself going through more than 1 or 2 days where I'm feeling down, where I'm feeling depressed, where I'm feeling hopeless or whatever, I do self-check-ins to where I'm like, this has been going on too long. Now I have to start turning towards some of my coping tools. Now I need to start calling people that I know are a source of positivity and somebody who can take a look at my situation from the outside and give me good constructive opinions on it and ways that I can get out of whatever situation that is. Seasons. Just like the actual seasons outside, there's some seasons you love. There's some seasons that you don't. There's some seasons where you're like, man, it's too cold outside. It's too dark and gloomy. Some people are like, I love the winter. Some people say spring is the best because the temperatures are, everything is blooming after the winter and the cold, and we're starting to see the temperatures warm up. Some people are like, I love the summer because then I can just walk outside in nothing and I could just enjoy the hot sun and go to the beach and travel and do different things. And some people love the fall, like myself. But just be prepared and know that every year there is going to be different seasons. And your goal is to try to stay as level as you can while the seasons rock the boat. During your good seasons, that's going to be easy because it's just going to be no waves or very little waves. I like the spring and the fall. I actually did this surf class last year. I don't think I will ever surf in an ocean, but I did like a surf class where they have the surfboard on the ground with some springs and you practice, I don't know what it's called, but when you lay on the board and you jump up from the board and stand in your stance to catch the wave. And your goal when you do that is to get in your good stance and be steady, to be prepared for the water that's coming underneath the board. And that's just kind of how I view how we have to be with the different things going on in our lives and in the world. because there's going to be times when not much is going on and it's really easy to just stay here. There's other times when there's going to be storms and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, but if you're having a big reaction, you're definitely going to just fall off the board or fall out of the boat. I've started to subscribe to Stoicism or Stoicism. I hope I pronounced that right. I don't really know too much about that, but just based on the root of the word, I can assume what that means, but I'll have to look more into that, Van Hoot. But yeah, I am just about done with this video for today. Thank you all for hopping on. Let's see. We are January 29. We're going to be February. We're going to be in February on Wednesday. Looking forward to February. Excuse me. I'm looking forward to February. A lot of cool things going on. I have a lot of videos to drop for you guys. Somebody told me that you pronounced it quickly. Yeah, that's what I figured it meant. Staying level-headed. Not too high, not too low. You know, something that I just thought of, Van Hoot, is when sometimes when I accomplish certain things, people are like, how do you feel? Trust me, there's times when I feel excited about accomplishing things, but I kind of am picky and choosy with my reactions to certain accomplishments. Like, for an example, if I had a goal to lose like 50 pounds and I lose 10 pounds and somebody's like, congratulations, you look great. And I'm like, well, thank you. And they're thinking I should be like, thank you so much. I'm so happy that I lost the 10. But for me, it's like my goal wasn't to lose 10. It was to lose 50. And if I get too hyped off of this particular compliment, I feel like it's going to take some hunger away from me towards losing the other 40. And no pun intended with using hunger as an example. But it made me think of this trainer that I have spoken to several times at some of these events that I go to. And he told me, like, if I can remember the phrase, a lion is at its most dangerous when it's a little hungry. I think it's important to both appreciate different parts of the journey, but also recognize it's part of the journey. Yeah, agreed. I think I was just watching a video earlier today that was talking about something like that too. It was a Gary Vee video, as a matter of fact. Gary Vee was talking about how he often talks to people in their 20s, like mid 20s to late 20s, and they're like depressed because they're not millionaires. And he was like, why? If you grind really hard for the next 3 years at 25 and you don't become a millionaire, now you're 28. it's like it's not the end of the world. And he was like, I try to tell these young people that the journey, you have to start to love the journey rather than living for the end result. Like, I'm going to just commit to all this stuff that I hate doing for years in hopes that I become a millionaire one day, instead of saying, I want to commit to things that are meaningful, things that I love doing, and just throw myself into the journey and love the journey. And I hope to get the $1 million from it eventually. I think people don't live life, but let it happen to them at times. And that's, yeah. And that, yeah, I always talk about that. Van Hoot. Like, if you get in the boat, I always use the boat as an analogy, but if you get in the boat and you have no paddle, the boat is not just going to take you to the place that you are trying to go. You have to have some sense of direction and some kind of plan. Obviously, there's going to be times when the waves are just the currents are taking you certain directions, and you're gonna have to like steer against them and try to get yourself back on course. But generally, the person who's just sitting there along for the ride is going to get taken for a ride. They're not going to go to the place they want. They're going to get taken somewhere. Part of Stoicism is to accept the world as it is, not to try to get caught up trying to get frustrated with things outside of your control. That makes a lot of sense. Here's another virtue of it: making the distinction between what is within our power to influence and what is not. Using this information, we can act on what can be acted upon, and we can dismiss what can't. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Hey, Vicky, how are you? How are you? You're hyper smart, hyper aware. You take responsibility for your actions and how you view things and your takes. Yeah, Vicky. I want to say I'm close to being about to hop off, but usually when I say that, that's when people start getting on the live. When I say I'm about to get off, so I'll hang on here for a little bit longer. We'll see what happens. But yeah, those are good points that you made, Van Hoot. Like, I mean, you, Mark, are all those things. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You didn't miss much, Vicky. I was just going through the way that I think about, well, you missed everything, Vicky. I was thinking to myself, you didn't miss much, but then I was like, wait a minute, I was about to get off, so you missed everything. Hi, Dite. I sure missed a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I'll say just, I'm not gonna literally go through the whole thing again. I'm just gonna say you can go back and watch the rest of it. But to summarize briefly, I was just saying everybody has different seasons. They have their seasons where they're thriving. They have their seasons where they're hurting. They have seasons of loss. They have seasons of gain. You know what I mean? And we all have to be in a position to know that sometimes it might not be your season now. And this is my get through it season. This is my perseverance season. This is my positive thinking season. And once I get through that, I'm going to be cruising in the next season because of all that I went through during this season and how I withstood the storm. I'm late to replay crew. Yeah, MC, I was just saying, every time I say I'm just getting off of this, it's like everybody hears me. It's like everybody hears me somehow at that specific time and jumps on when I'm saying I'm going to jump off. But how are y'all doing though? You guys who have just joined in the last couple of minutes. I will look it over. Yeah, thanks for the reminder. Please get the likes up. If you haven't done so, hit the like button. Drop a comment once this video goes down. Please hit the like button to show Mark that you appreciate all that he does. Thank you. I'm okay, and I hope that everyone is well. I'm glad that you're doing okay. I'm hanging in there. You know, Vicky, and now that you're on here, I forgot that I haven't been continuing thus far with the BB Can watch party, but I have been watching. I think I'm on episode 17 or something like that, 18. It's getting pretty interesting. Now Ika and Dylan are together because I remember when I hopped on here after episode 1 to 4, and I was like, this guy Dylan has no shot with Ika, and everyone's like, oh, now they got kids together, and I'm like, what? But I probably would have seen it coming if I was able to see. Oh, you finished it? If I was able to see the live streams. Maybe I'll look for the live streams on YouTube or something. No spoilers for me though, Vicky. No spoilers. Yeah, so I guess for me, I'll say for me, the current season that I'm in, I feel like I just shifted seasons. I feel like I just shifted seasons last week. I feel like I was in a 3-month high of a winning season where I was like, I'm waking up every day. I'm excited with everything that I'm doing. My YouTube page is thriving. I'm getting to go different places and meet different people. You know, I got some good interviews that I wanted for a long time. Just doing a lot of things that I loved and feeling really happy for the most part. Obviously, there's things in the background that are difficult, but it's life. But generally, the months of November, December, and January were very great months for me. And then all of a sudden, to go from that to jumping back into work last week, I was trying to hold on to the life that I had when I was off of work. I was trying to hold on to both things at the same time, and I was wrestling with them. I'm like, there's this life that I was trying to leave behind, and there's this new life that I kind of forged during this time that I was off. And I was like, how can I have both things there at the same time? And I had to let go of the grip of the new life. And the reason I'm saying that is because I had to say to myself, there's reasons why I have to be at my job right now. I have to have the money. There's no way around that. It's not rocket science. I have to have the money to support myself. And this is not doing that for me in a large enough amount yet for me to say I could leave a job just to do this. You know, that's still my goal one day, but that's not where I'm at right now. So I had to let go of the grip a little bit of that previous life that I was living and say, that was that season. The season that I have right now is like my get through it season. This is not going to be my favorite season, but it's going to be a get through it season. And when I get through it, once I have figured out the formula and cracked the code to get to the place that I want to be in, I'm going to look back at this season and be like, I'm so glad that I hung in there. I stuck through this, and it was something that built resolve and perseverance in me. And now I'm going to enjoy these good times even more than I would have without this obstacle. There's a massive sporting controversy, but I don't want to throw you off topic. But later, check out NBA scoring keeping Memphis scandal. Never spoil it for you. Mark, I'm so happy that things are going well for you and the family. Thank you. You've definitely opened my eyes to more reality shows. I can't even really take the credit for that for the most part, because I was only watching a couple of shows, and then a lot of y'all gave me shows to watch, and I've been watching people's suggestions. But I'm glad that you've been keeping up with those shows with me, Vicky. Hey, we have 11 in the room. Let's see. How many likes are there in the room, by the way, today? Because on my StreamYard app, it does not show me how many likes. It just shows me how many viewers. You're my new reality TV show, buddy. I still have to check out The Circle and The Traitors. The Circle and The Traitors. And those are two shows that you can binge watch fairly quickly. It doesn't take long to get through them. They're not like Big Brother shows that you have to watch a whole bunch of episodes. I think The Traitors was 10 episodes, and The Circle 11. Thank you. The Circle is I don't remember, 13, 14 episodes, something like that. But The Circle is a really good show. I like The Circle. I was talking to Nikki Shorts about this the other day. The Circle is much less of an emotional investment and time investment than Big Brother. Because I was saying to myself, there doesn't seem to be the same type of controversy with people coming out of The Circle as what happens when they come out of Big Brother. But we're seeing less of them. We're hearing less of them. It's an edited show. So it's not really going to be the same. And it's a shorter time span also that they're in there. But if anyone hasn't seen The Circle, it's pretty cool. I don't know if I can explain it that well. But my explanation is that they get these people that go into the house. They get to choose a profile. They get to either choose to be themselves or a catfish. The other players are in their own separate apartment. They can't visually see or hear each other. All they're going off of is pictures and chat and profile. And then they do different games to show their personalities, and then they do votes to see who's going to be the top who's going to be the social media influencers. The influencers get together and they vote out. Sometimes they vote out the person that they're going to vote out. Sometimes the person voted out is based on everybody's collective votes, and it's like the bottom person. They do different twists in there. Yeah, you haven't seen the end of The Circle yet? It's suspenseful. To me, this current season of The Circle is the best season so far. I haven't seen all the seasons, though. I missed one. So I have to go back. Hey, how are you doing, Candle? Good to catch you online. Happy Sunday to you. Stay safe and be blessed always. Good to see you here. I really like that show. The Circle you're talking about? Yeah, The Circle is a good show. It's so short, though, but that's why I understand their reason to have dragged it for 4 weeks, like 4, and then 1 in terms of the episodes they released. So right now I'm just diving into, I'm finishing up. I'm about halfway through the Big Brother Canada season 5. And I have to tell y'all that recommended it to me, thank you. I now look forward to when BB10, is it BB10? I don't know if it's 10 or 11. I think BB10 coming up for Canada. I'll be watching that and I'll be covering that. It's good. I like the fact that it's messy. They got just the right kind of fights. I like the host. There's gameplay. At least the season that we're on, it's kind of refreshing compared to like BB24 because it doesn't seem to be a season that's so influenced by what's going on outside of the house. It seems like everyone is just playing the game. And that's what I liked about the earlier seasons of Big Brother that I went back to, the BB USA seasons that I went back to, is that those seasons seem to be more about gameplay. These seasons, they talk a lot about podcasts that they watch, and they talk about other shows they want to be on, and they talk about, I remember sitting down and watching a night of Monty Turner and Taylor talking about like people's Instagram pages and how they studied how much of a boost they get from being on the show and all this stuff. Like all that's cool, but yeah. Love the secret missions. I just got past the episode. What was the mission? Um, I just got past the episode where William found that thing in the paper in the kitchen and had to go around wrangling up all the clues. And then he got to be the secret power veto. I can't wait because I'm on the episode where I'm going to see what he decides to do. Because he decided not to use it this week, but I'm on the episode where I'm going to see if he uses it for the next week. So, by the way, I love your last line and I'm sad. Are you talking about the live that I did yesterday, Candy? Thank you, by the way. I'm currently at work on my break, but I will keep watching until my break is done. I appreciate the support. Hey, Lisa. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, so I was only on here briefly, Candle. I was only on here for a few minutes. I was in the studio, if that's the one you were talking about. But I was just talking about my experience going back to work and the week that I had with that, which was challenging, especially at the beginning of the week. But towards the end, there's something that somebody told me one time called expectations management. So I was kind of not mentally prepared to be back in that space. But I started to get myself prepared over time. And by the end of the week, I was like, okay, this is where I'm at for right now. And it's going to be what it's going to be. Now I'm kind of ready to go into Monday because I've already dipped my feet in the pool. Am I in the studio now? Wait a minute. The live you did on your experience at work. Oh, really? My experience at work. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. I think a lot of people, I think I've realized through talking about these things on here that a lot of people have had those kind of experiences. I'm curious to know how you maintained through that experience and how you got to where you are currently. I assume that you're in a better place than you were at that time. Are you in the studio now? No. I'm mostly going to be in the studio on weekends because number one, that's when I have the most time. And number two, I'm renting the studio space. So it's not my studio. I don't have a studio in my house. One day I'm going to have that going on. But currently, no. I love being in the studio because it's a place that is where I can be uninterrupted. It's just like a private, quiet space. It's just me in there with my computer, my headphones, and I just create my content and my material. It's like I almost view that like a work day. That's something I've started to do. I'm like, okay, because of the fact that now I have 40 hours again that I have to be doing my regular 9 to 5 work, I'm going to have less time to do this, like get on these lives and do stuff like this. Obviously, it's different right now because it's the weekend, but I'm not going to be here every day necessarily doing this or very long. So I'm going to be mixing it up with pre-recorded material and also record live material, which was a very long answer to your question, but yeah, that's just my whole answer to if I'm in the studio. Maybe like Saturdays and Sundays, something like that. A couple days a month. But it was cool even having that experience because I've been in a studio before. Well, not in a studio like a podcasting studio, but I have been in a studio for a radio recording. Love the snippets of the Steve show. Yeah, the Steve Wilkos show. The latest clip that I just uploaded from the Steve Wilkos show was actually from the first segment of the first Steve Wilkos show that I ever went to, which was about 2 months ago. And they just aired that particular episode last week. So they're random with the way that they upload. I still have probably 4 or 5 more episodes of that show that you're going to see me on, because they only take 1 segment per show. So we're in the studio for like 8 hours. Well, not 8 hours. From the time we get into the studio until the time we leave might be about 4 hours, let's say about 4 hours. And they'll just have the couple or whoever come into the studio, and they'll do their recording for that. Then they'll have a little break, then bring in the next group, have a little break. So they're just recording all these, and they pick and choose at random when they go on TV. So I just keep checking the list. And when I see something that kind of looks familiar, or the thumbnail, when I see the people and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember those people, then I check out that episode and see when I can see myself, and it's kind of fun. And that one that I uploaded, the clip where she was like, with your nasty, dirty hair, blah, blah, blah. That part of the show, it was this funny couple. I'm mad that they edited so much of it out, because it was so funny in the studio. And I was like, is this even real? That's why I was asking if it was real, because it was so funny. It was literally like watching a stage play. That man walked in and he had that smile on his face, and they just started arguing. And it was like they had kids, and she cheated a bunch of times, and he cheated a bunch of times, and he had a mistress, and she took a lie detector test to see if the baby is his. And then it was just hilarious. And he was looking in the crowd, and he's like, oh yeah, like you guys haven't had your dirt too. I bet all y'all out in the crowd, you guys had your dirt too. I feel like I belong somewhere where I'm being needed and tossed around because I know my worth. I see. Keeping us updated in the community tab. Always. I'm always going to stay connected. Wow. Yes, that was cool to see you on TV again. Cool. Yeah, as I'm seeing the rest of those Steve Wilkos clips pop up on different episodes, if I catch them, I'll post whatever I can on here. Tell us more about your experiences with different TV shows. It's very interesting. I'm glad that I'm in a position where I can be among people that save lives regardless of the gender or color. Yeah, and thanks for the work that you do, Candle, for sure. People really put themselves through all that on national TV. Yeah, Steve Wilkos is like a mixed, like a hybrid of Jerry Springer and Maury Povich. Really is. The last segment of the last episode that I was on, the guy, he kicked him out of the studio, and the guy gave him the finger, and it's probably gonna make the air. That was probably the most funny one out of all 8 or 9 or 10 segments that I watched. You need to make a compilation at some point. I'm so glad that I saved the Nick Cannon show highlights that I had, because they took them off of YouTube when they canceled his show. And Nick Cannon always showed me so much love. I feel like Nick Cannon is the person who made me excited to be a regular, to go on these shows more often, because most of the other shows are all women's shows. So, you know, I'm in the crowd. They put me in a good seat, but they're not really paying too much attention to me. But when I used to go into the Nick Cannon show, I dress up, I put on my whole suit and my whole getup, and then Nick would come out before the show starts, like 20 minutes before the show starts, and he would always come out, and they would have me almost in the same seat, right in the front, and he would come and he'd give me a dap, and he would be like, "Oh, I like that. I like the blue combination with the orange." He was like, "That's looking fly. It's looking sharp." And then he'd be like, "Thanks for coming." And then during the show, they had something called the Damn Cam. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. You might not have seen it because it was a very short-lived show, but yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do something like that. That's a great idea. I'm going to, you know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to take some time one day and whatever clips that I have. Yeah, and on that same episode, he came over and gave me a hug during the show. He was like, "I need to go hug my brothers." And then he came over, he gave me a hug. He's like, "A turtleneck hug." And then he hugged like a couple other guys in the audience. And I was like, this is my TV moment. Like my friends and family saw me on the show that day. They were like, "That was you?" I still have that clip here on my YouTube page. The full clip of that whole segment is funny. I'll post it on my community tab so you can look at the whole thing. But yeah, he was, compared to some of these other ones, he was very interactive with us. Like on The View, they only talk to you during the show when the show is on, and like a little tiny bit during the commercial breaks, maybe. But the second they're like, cut, Whoopi is out of there. Like, I remember when the show ended, I was like, oh, great, I can get a picture of Whoopi. A picture of Whoopi, not even with her. I was just thinking I can get a quick picture of her before she leaves. And I reached down to get my phone, and I looked back up, and I'm like, did she teleport out of the studio? Like, how did she get out of here so fast? There's a funny story behind this, MC, actually. I actually realized I've never even told this story of that specific thing. There's a reason why we were twinning. So I had been on the set of the show by then at least 4 or 5 different times. And I would look at his, you see when he puts on his outfits, he dresses really different. So one time I had seen him put on like a suit and turtleneck combination that I liked. And I was like, yo, that's pretty cool. I have a blue suit, and I looked up what colors go with blue, and orange was one of the colors. And I'm like, that might be interesting. So I had my royal blue suit, I had that orange turtleneck, and I had an orange pocket square. And it went with my mask that had my music and mental health logo, coincidentally. So I had that prepared, and then I saw him in his pre-taped segment of what the show was going to be about the next day, wearing something that looked like that. I think he had some sort of teal color or something like that, and it was similar looking. So when he first walked in, he saw it and he was like, "I love me a good turtleneck." He was like, "Nice turtleneck. That looks nice." And the thing about that show is that when he would go through the audience and see an outfit that he likes and compliment somebody on it, they would usually end up on TV. So I kind of thought that, okay, because he complimented my outfit and the producers watch everything he's saying, they might pan to me at some point in the crowd. But I didn't know that I was going to end up in the segment. Yeah, he had me cracking up. He had me cracking up. Ask the brother in the turtleneck. He understands. You were looking fly. Thank you. Are you excited? I'm back at work now. Not really. I'm not really excited about it, but I will make it through as long as I have to make it through. They just disappeared. Oops, that was cool. The dam cam is what it was. They had this thing called the dam cam, which would go around the audience and then pan around. Oh, so it would pan around and randomly pick somebody who had the outfit of the day. But the way the outfit of the day actually worked is that as we were walking in, they would be like, okay, take off your jacket so we can see what you have on. So we would take the jacket off, and then they had like a fashion person who would look at all the outfits and choose before we even get into the studio who they think has the outfit of the day that they want to feature. And then they would make them sign a waiver, and then they would put the microphone, they would attach the microphone and everything to them and hold them in the back, and then bring them out during that segment, position them in a certain seat. Yeah, there's all kinds of things that go on behind the scenes of these shows. Do the shows tell you ahead of time? Yeah, they give you like a general list. They give some are more specific than others, but generally they tell you what not to wear. And it's usually for the daytime TV, it's usually like no hats, no clothing with big logos on them. I think they say like no sneakers. I don't think I've ever really tried to wear sneakers to a TV show, but I think they have that on there. They tell you to wear things that aren't busy with patterns. They recommend bright colors. They recommend bright, solid colors and things with no logos. Yeah, they give recommendations, but I've seen people that look like they're way out of dress code and they don't usually do or say anything about that. They'll just put them in the back behind people. Thanks for the inside scoop. Would you do YouTube as I would if it paid for enough for me to do it full time, I'd be doing it full time right now. I'd be doing it full time like yesterday if it paid enough for me to do that. So once I crack that formula, I'll definitely do something like this all the time. What can be better than just getting paid to sit here and talk? I didn't even think that was possible until a couple of months ago. Like now I'll say it doesn't pay enough for me to do it full time, but it pays something. So just the fact that I've gotten a couple of paychecks from YouTube now shows me that it's possible to be done in the future. Putting them in the back. Yeah, they really do. Don't give up. You know something that happens? Thank you, Vicky, for saying that. You know something else that happens too? I don't know if I want to say this, but sometimes they get people that really fall in love with the host of the show. And they show up every day and they yell wild things to them. And it was especially happening for Nick Cannon, okay? Because when I've gone to these other shows, Sherry, Tamron Hall, The View, you're not having people really come there every day, every single day, and be like, have my babies, Tamron. I remember this one time, Nick left the show and came back. I think he was doing some kind of, I forgot what the segment was about, but he was like, okay, I have a wardrobe change and then I have to come back out. And he came back out in this pink suit and pink shirt and pink tie and pink vest and pink pants, pink everything, right? And these ladies were screaming wild stuff to him. And they were like, you're looking like the Pink Panther. And then one lady was like, Nick, you look like a big old bottle of Pepto-Bismol, and I just want to drink you. I was like, I was cracking up at the type of comments that Nick would get. And he would actually be someone, I can see why he is how he is and what he does, because he would actually go to that person in the audience during a break and give them a big hug and be like, "What's your name, girl?" Do you have to have reservations? Yeah. So what happens is there's websites that you can go on that get you the tickets for the show, or sometimes the show has its own separate website, like Sherry Shepherd Show has its own separate website, and you just go on the website, you see the available dates on the calendar, you put in for them, and then if there's any available, they'll send you an email, and they'll give it, the email has all the instructions, the time you need to get there, the address, the suggested clothes that you wear, how long the taping is going to be, if there's going to be a break, all the rules, that kind of stuff. But all the tapings are free. Keep up the good work, and I can see you making it big because you have the potential to be successful with peace and love. Thank you, Candle. Peace and love. Yes, I thought that after seeing the lady all over him, and he did give her a hug. There was this one lady who used to come every single day without fail, and she used to be like, "Nick is my man." And some hosts might be like, I want to stay away from this lady. He actually made her a part of one of the episodes. I wish I could find it. I think they took it all off YouTube, but he made her a part of like this Valentine's Day episode where they had a segment of him going on a date with that lady that was like a super Nick fan. So I thought that was pretty cool and funny. Gotta find the void on YouTube and fill it. Yeah, absolutely. Wild 'N Out show gives them the Wild 'N Out show. As you mentioned, the Wild 'N Out show, I think was either the first or maybe the second. I think the first show that I ever went to was Dr. Oz. I took my mom there like 8 years ago, something like that, for her birthday. We went to Dr. Oz. Then I went on the Chew. And then after the Chew, I went to the Wild 'N Out show. The Wild 'N Out show was the first show that taught me what production can do for a TV show. Because I used to think I don't know why I thought this, but I was like, TV shows are what you see is what you get, right? Until I went to the Wild 'N Out show. So the Wild 'N Out show used to be filmed in New York at one point in time. And when you look at it on TV, it looks like a nightclub. When I actually got to the set of the show, it was in like a factory basement, as a matter of fact. It was freezing in there. It was February. They take everything from you. They take your coat. They take your cell phone. They take your keys. Like, you can't take anything in there with you. They pat you down, all of that. It's like you're going into an airport. And then you get in there. Oh, this was the first thing that I remembered when I got into the line. They had production out there standing in the line. They were looking at mainly the women, and they picked out the women based on the ones that they felt looked the best. You. We're going to put you in the front row, and we're going to put y'all on the stage based solely on appearance. Like, these are not people they know prior. They just looked at them. They looked at their looks and their outfits, and then they made them all sign waivers. They made them all sign waivers, and they put them on the stage, or they put them in the front row. That was one of the first things that I saw. Let me get to these comments. I wonder if that was a lady that says she wants to have his baby next. They were all saying that. Don't forget You're the moment, period. By the way, I'm still waiting for the shirt. Yeah. Shout out to Taylor, by the way. I am the point. I am the point. I didn't come here to make a point. I am the point. So, second of all, when we got in there, I don't know if you guys know. Oh, shoot. I can't think of his name anymore. But it was this funny comedian that was on the Wild 'N Out show. He might not be on there currently, but he did the whole warm up and it was funny. It was a comedy set basically. Then Nick comes out, all the people from the show came out. And I remember they started out by doing the family reunion. So if you guys have seen the Wild 'N Out show, they have a segment where they all pick somebody from the audience and they go, at the family reunion, who we introducing, who we introducing. And then they do like a little freestyle. And I use the term freestyle loosely because it took them a good 10 minutes probably to walk through the crowd, pick somebody, rehearse and practice because this is pre-recorded. And then I remember they went through the whole family reunion section. It took like 10 to 15 minutes to record. When you see it on TV, it's like what, 2 minutes, less than that. So it was like 10 to 15 minutes. So they finished the segment and then a woman from production came out and whispered something in Nick Cannon's ear. And then Nick Cannon was like, looked up in the audience and he was like, just to let you guys know, production just said that all these jokes were not funny. So we're going to huddle up, figure out better jokes, get it together, and then do a retaping. And he was like, this kind of thing happens all the time. Don't be alarmed. So they literally huddled up together, talked about what they were going to do and who they were going to pick. They used some of the same people. They picked a couple of new people, redid the whole segment, and then production was like, okay, that section is good. And that's pretty much how it went. When we got to the Wild style, I used to be like, these people are quick and witty and come up with all these cool freestyles on the spot. The Wild style is probably like half an hour. And there's so much dead space in there. There's times where they don't rhyme. They start over, they stop, they start. And production pretty much just takes this whole segment and takes the best parts out of it and cuts it up into like a minute or two. So it was kind of fun. It was very long, but that was the first time I ever saw how much production can affect a TV show. But since then, I was kind of like, I want to go see more shows and have more experiences. So after Dr. Oz, The Chew, and the Wild 'N Out show, there was a few years in between that I didn't go to any shows. Then I went to Good Morning America. Michael Strahan was so funny. He was so funny. Michael Strahan is another one of the nicest ones in between segments. Because some of these shows you go on, they're only talking to you when the cameras are rolling. They're not focused or paying attention to the crowd at all. The Wild 'N Out show was about maybe 2.5 to 3 hours. And remember, this is for one 20-something minute show. Like 2.5 to 3 hours of taping and filming for like 20 minutes of footage. So you could imagine how much they chopped that up. When I finally saw the show that I was on, I was like, I barely even remember being there. Because looking at the version that they put out compared to the version I sat through for 3 hours, night and day. Night and day. I was like, was I really there? Because this doesn't look like the same thing that I was there for. Strahan. Yeah, so Strahan, that was the first show that I went on more than once, was the Good Morning America show. And then right after the show, they would have, what is it called? Kiki, the show with Kiki, Michael, and somebody. 3 of them. and they would give us tickets if we wanted to stay after the Good Morning America taping was done. I think Good Morning America doesn't have live guests anymore, but I went on there probably a good 4 or 5 times. Beautiful view. It's right there, I think, on 42nd Street. And it had the studio was on the second floor, and it overlooked the sidewalk. So you could actually look out the window and see everybody downstairs outside. That show was really cool. And then because of the pandemic, they stopped having live guests in there, which is really sad. And then from there, the Nick Cannon show, like I was talking about, that shut down. I don't know if they have another show in that studio, but that was the 106 & Park studio. The one that Nick Cannon was in was the 106 & Park studio. I wish I had been able to see 106 & Park live especially back in the AJ and Free days. As you guys saw, I saw the Sherri Shepherd show. I like the Sherri Shepherd show. I don't know if it's my favorite show. It's a little less interactive. It's still pretty interactive, but it's not as much as those previous couple of ones that I'm talking about with Strahan and Nick Cannon, and also Tamron Hall. Tamron Hall is a good show. I enjoyed that one. But yeah, it's a pretty fun hobby. And being in New York, I was like, I want to experience the Seth Meyers show. The Seth Meyers show. So I think it was last week or the week before. It was the week before. I was choosing between, after I finished The View, because The View and Tamron Hall are shot in the same studio. So they were offering us tickets to go to Tamron Hall right after The View finished. And it was raining that day and everything. So I strongly considered just taking the tickets for Tamron Hall, staying in that same studio and watching and being a part of that audience. But then I decided to go to the Seth Meyers show. And I was so glad that I went to the Seth Meyers show instead. Not because I don't like Tamron Hall, but that thing had me just dying and laughing. I was just laughing beginning to end. It was so hilarious. Seth Meyers is really funny. Unfortunately, they're very strict about cameras in Seth Meyers. I did get a chance to speak to him, but I was not able to record that. So it is what it is. Yeah, do you know Drake? That was so funny. That was so funny and unexpected. That was so funny, and because I was just holding up my camera. Sometimes I yell to them or call to them like, "Hey, Tamron," or "Hey, Sherri." This time I didn't. I was just holding the camera, and then she was just walked over and was like, "Hi there. Where are you from?" And then I told her, and then she was like, "Oh, Canada, huh? Do you know Drake?" I was upset though, because the last time I was there, I was just about to get a picture. I was the next person in line to get a picture with Tamron, and then she had to go like right after the group in front of me got pictures with her. So I was like, okay, maybe next time. But yeah, everyone, it's been fun. Let's see. I probably stayed on here like 50 minutes after I said I was going to go. Lisa D is not on here to tell me. Lisa D, I'm going to appoint as the official counter for how long I stay on a live after I say I'm just about to get off. Because I always end up, it's not my fault. Because typically when I say I'm about to get off, there's no comments or there's very little comments. And then all of a sudden I see the views go up and I see the comments go up. And then I start answering questions and then I lose track of the time. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I like connecting with you guys. All you that said you got here late, that got here like 30 minutes in, you got 40 to 50 minutes of me anyways. So now you're the early ones. You stayed late. Unlike if I was at work, I would not be staying late at work. When I'm at work, my time is from 8:00:00 to 5:00 and 00 milliseconds. And whatever is after the milliseconds, it also has to be at 0. That clock out is instant. So if I'm doing something where I lose track of time, then it's a good thing. Thank y'all. And have a great night, and we'll chat again soon.